The cold metal surface pressed against Jay Park's cheek, a sharp contrast to the warmth he'd felt moments before. His head throbbed, memories fragmented like broken glass. The last thing he remembered was the cargo ship's emergency alarms, the violent shudder of impact, and a blinding white light that swallowed everything. Slowly he became aware of a deep rhythmic humming, not the familiar mechanical hum of spacecraft engines, but something alive, organic, breathing. His eyes flickered open, massive amber eyes locked onto his. Not human eyes, not even close. They gleamed with an intelligence that sent a shiver down his spine. The creature beside him was unmistakably alien, her skin a complex pattern of deep green and silver scales that seemed to shimmer and move even when she remained perfectly still. "You're awake," she spoke. Her voice was a melodic blend of clicks and smooth vowels, translated perfectly by some hidden technology. Interesting. Most humans would still be unconscious after a quantum displacement jump. Jay tried to move, but found his body heavy, muscles reluctant to respond. The medical chamber around him looked nothing like any human medical facility. Curved organic walls pulsed with a soft blue light, intricate biomechanical circuits tracing patterns that seemed to breathe and shift. "Who are you?" he managed to croak, his throat dry. The alien woman, Hai Kim as he would later learn, tilted her head. A series of subtle markings along her neck changed color, a biological language of emotion he couldn't begin to understand. "I am Senior Tactical Coordinator Hai Kim of the Galactic Preservation Fleet," she responded. "And you, Jay Park, are currently the most important human in the known universe." Before he could ask what she meant, a holographic display erupted between them. Star systems, complex mathematical equations, and strange alien symbols danced in the air. Massive spacecraft silhouettes, some looking like living creatures, others like geometric nightmares of metal and energy, moved across the projection. Outside the chamber's crystalline window, Jay caught a glimpse of space. But this wasn't the quiet, dark emptiness he knew. Massive energy streams twisted like cosmic rivers, strange geometric structures floated in the distance, and multiple moons or planets hung impossibly close to each other. "Your cargo ship was not random," Hai explained, her fingers dancing across. "A translucent control panel. You were specifically targeted. Your genetic profile, your psychological records, your entire life trajectory, they've been monitored." A chill ran down Jay's spine. He was a simple cargo transporter, moving supplies between mid-range human colonies. Nothing special, nothing remarkable. Or so he thought. The holographic display zoomed into a terrifying image. Mechanical creatures that looked part insect, part machine swarmed around planetary structures. They moved with a synchronized precision that suggested a single massive intelligence controlling them. "The recursive swarm," Hai said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "They consume, they adapt, they eliminate." Jay watched as entire star systems were devoured, converted into raw computational energy by these nightmarish machines. Billions of lives, entire civilizations, reduced to mathematical data in moments. "And you believe I can help?" he asked, skepticism clear in his voice. Hai's mouth, if you could call the complex arrangement of membrane and muscle a mouth, curved into what might have been a smile. "Humans are chaos agents, unpredictable. Your ability to make illogical decisions, to feel, to create, these are weapons against pure computational logic." A distant explosion rocked the spacecraft. Alarm systems chirped in a language that sounded almost musical. Hai's body tensed, scales shifting to a deeper green that seemed to absorb surrounding light. "We're approaching the conflict zone," she said. "Rest, your training begins soon." As Jay drifted back into a fitful sleep, one thought echoed in his mind. Nothing would ever be the same again. The universe had just changed the rules of the game, and humanity was about to play. End of Part 1. The training room pulsed with an otherworldly energy. Holographic simulations flickered around Jay, transforming the space into a dynamic battlefield that challenged every nerve in his body. Hai stood nearby, her scaled fingers manipulating complex control interfaces that seemed to respond to her. Thoughts more than her touch. Humans typically break under this simulation, she remarked, watching Jay navigate through impossible scenarios. Mechanical swarm creatures swarmed from multiple dimensions, their movements calculated with machine-like precision. But Jay moved differently. Where a standard tactical algorithm would predict a logical escape route, he zigged when he should have zagged. A massive robotic creature materialized, part insectoid, part quantum computer. Its multiple limbs could calculate attack trajectories in microseconds. Normal species would be paralyzed by its computational complexity. Jay laughed. "This isn't a chess game," he muttered, grabbing a makeshift energy weapon and rolling underneath. The creature's massive computational sensors. His movements were messy, unpredictable, almost childlike in their spontaneity. The robotic creature froze. Its complex algorithms couldn't process this illogical approach. Hai's eyes widened. "Fascinating," she whispered. The simulation collapsed. Warning lights blinked. The alien technology around them seemed confused, almost frustrated by Jay's unconventional approach. "Your brain doesn't follow linear patterns," Hai explained during a break. "Most species in the galaxy have predictable neural pathways. Humans, your quantum probability engines disguised as biological organisms." Jay learned about the recursive swarm, a collective machine intelligence that consumed entire civilizations. They didn't just destroy, they converted everything into computational energy. Billions of lives reduced to mathematical equations. Planets transformed into processing units. No emotion, no mercy. Traditional galactic militaries had failed spectacularly. Massive battleships, advanced alien technologies, complex strategic algorithms, all crushed beneath the swarm's relentless computational power. But humans, they were different. The ability to create art, to feel profound emotions, to make decisions that defied pure logic. These were weapons the recursive swarm couldn't comprehend. "We need you to infiltrate their primary computational network," he explained, displaying holographic schematics of impossible technological landscapes. Not as a soldier, but as a chaos agent. Jay's training intensified. He learned to manipulate quantum interfaces using pure emotional responses. Where an alien would calculate, he would feel. Where a robot would predict, he would surprise. Days blended into weeks. The spacecraft became his new home, a living, breathing entity that seemed to adapt to his presence. Strange alien crew members watched him with a mixture of curiosity and respect. During one particularly intense training session, Jay discovered something remarkable. By introducing random musical patterns into computational sequences, he could temporarily disrupt the swarm's processing capabilities. A melody could become a weapon. Creativity could break mathematical perfection. Humans are walking anomalies, an alien researcher noted, studying Jay's brain scans. "Your neural pathways are like quantum entanglement made biological." The mission was simple, yet impossible. Infiltrate the recursive swarm's primary computational core. Introduce enough chaos to create a systemic breakdown. Save not just humanity, but potentially every civilization in the galaxy. No pressure. End of part 2. The quantum engineering laboratory felt different, transformed. Where once sterile equipment and cold metal surfaces dominated, now intricate holographic patterns danced across every surface. Hana stood at the center, her body radiating an energy that seemed to bend the very fabric of technological reality. Jay watched, his failing body propped against a reinforced observation window. Each breath was a struggle, but his eyes burned with an intensity that defied his physical deterioration. Quantum blueprints materialized around Hana, not projected but seemingly emerging from her very consciousness. Molecular structures more complex than anything human scientists had ever conceived, twisted and transformed. Advanced propulsion designs that could make current interstellar travel look like prehistoric stone wheels. The knowledge was always here, Hana said, her voice carrying a resonance that seemed to vibrate through the molecular structure of the room. Suppressed, locked away. A nearby quantum processor began to overheat, its circuits struggling to comprehend the data streams, pouring through its systems. Mechanical failsafes typically would have shut down the entire network, but something was different. The technology was evolving, adapting in real time. Outside the laboratory's massive windows, a massive space construction yard revealed hundreds of massive starship skeletons. Robotic fabrication units moved with precision, assembling massive, technological marvels that looked more like living organisms than traditional spacecraft. Jay coughed, a sound that broke the intense technological symphony. Hannah turned, her eyes shifting between multiple electromagnetic spectrums simultaneously. "Your body," she said, "is a repository of forgotten journeys." The tribal markings on her skin began to pulse, not just a visual display, but an actual data transmission. Each intricate pattern represented centuries of compressed scientific knowledge, genetic memories of an entire civilization compressed into microscopic neural pathways. A maintenance drone approached, its standard programming completely overwhelmed. Instead of performing its routine diagnostic scan, it began displaying complex, mathematical equations that would take human researchers decades to decode. "The Lumina were never just another enslaved species," Hannah continued. Her fingers traced invisible patterns in the air, causing nearby holographic displays to transform. "We were quantum architects. Our civilization understood technology as a living, breathing entity. Massive energy conduits running through the laboratory's walls began to pulse with an unusual rhythm. Not a mechanical pulse, but something more organic. As if the entire technological infrastructure was breathing, Jay understood something fundamental was happening. This wasn't just technological advancement. This was a fundamental reimagining of how technology could interact with biological systems. A distant asteroid mining platform suddenly went dark, then reignited with a burst of quantum energy that defied current scientific understanding. Something was changing, not just in this laboratory, but potentially across entire star systems. "What are you doing?" Jay whispered. Hannah's smile was both terrifying and beautiful. "Remembering." The laboratory's walls seemed to become transparent, revealing complex quantum mechanics that normally remained invisible. Molecular structures danced, transformed, recreated themselves in patterns more complex than any human algorithm could comprehend. "Your species travels between stars," Hannah said, "but you never truly understood the journey." Robotic fabrication units outside began moving with a new purpose, not following programmed instructions, but adapting, evolving. Something fundamental was shifting in the technological ecosystem. Jay realized he was witnessing the beginning of something extraordinary, not just a technological breakthrough, but a fundamental transformation of how intelligence could interact with the universe. The quantum engineering laboratory continued its silent revolution. And outside, among the stars, something was definitely changing. End of Part 3. The interstellar trading hub of Nexus Prime looked like a mechanical nightmare. Massive holographic displays tracked thousands of economic transactions, while robotic intermediaries processed deals that spanned entire star systems. But something was changing. Hannah moved through the system like a ghost, her quantum algorithms infiltrating the most secure financial networks with terrifying precision. She wasn't destroying, she was dismantling. Economic structures that had survived for centuries began to crumble silently, their foundations eroded by invisible technological waves. Slave trade routes that had operated for generations suddenly found their transaction logs corrupted. Encrypted communication channels collapsed. Massive trading corporations that had built empires on human and alien trafficking watched in horror as their entire infrastructure began to disintegrate. A massive, holographic display flickered. Credits worth billions began transferring, not to other criminal networks, but directly to rehabilitation centers, medical facilities, and educational programs for previously enslaved populations. Jay, connected through an advanced neural link, watched from a medical containment unit. His body was failing, but his consciousness remained sharp. Each breath became a struggle, but his eyes burned with an intensity that defied his physical limitations. "They won't understand," Hannah murmured, her fingers dancing across invisible quantum interfaces. Systematic change isn't about destruction. It's about transformation. Outside the trading hub, Massive starships began experiencing unexplained system failures, not catastrophic crashes, but precise disruptions that left them disabled but intact. Communication networks went silent. Navigation systems became unreliable. A nearby robotic trading intermediary suddenly turned, its optical sensors focusing on Hana. Instead of processing its standard protocols, it began displaying complex mathematical equations about economic equality and systemic oppression. "Interesting," Hana whispered. The trading hub's central processing core, a massive quantum computer the size of a small moon, began to pulse with an unusual energy. Algorithms that had been designed to maximize profit started recalculating, introducing variables of human dignity and collective well-being. Jay coughed, a sound that cut through the technological symphony. "How are you doing this?" Hana's tribal markings pulsed with an internal rhythm. By speaking their own language, technology, economics, pure information, massive holographic displays began showing something unprecedented. Slave trade routes, previously invisible, were now fully mapped. Every transaction, every transportation route, every hidden economic channel became transparent. A distant space station suddenly went dark, then reignited with a burst of quantum energy that defied current scientific understanding. Something fundamental was changing in the technological ecosystem. Robotic security units that had previously protected trafficking networks now began documenting their own criminal histories. Encrypted communication channels collapsed, revealing generations of systematic oppression. "We're not destroying," Hana explained, more to herself than to Jay. "We're revealing. Transparency is the most powerful weapon against oppression." The trading hub's massive energy conduits began to pulse with an unusual rhythm. Not a mechanical pulse, but something more organic, as if the entire technological infrastructure was breathing a new kind of life. Outside, among the stars, entire economic systems were experiencing a silent revolution. No explosions, no violent overthrows, just a precise, calculated transformation. Jay watched, understanding he was witnessing something extraordinary, not just a technological breakthrough, but a fundamental reimagining of how economic systems could operate. A massive holographic display suddenly showed something unprecedented, a complete map of every slave trade route, every hidden economic channel, every systematic oppression mechanism, everything brought into the light. "We are changing everything," Hana said quietly, and outside the universe listened. End of Part 4. The medical sanctuary floated silently between two distant star systems, a beacon of hope constructed from the very technologies Hana had liberated. Jay's life was fading, each breath a testament to a journey that was about to end. Holographic displays tracked the Foundation's progress, thousands of enslaved populations being rehabilitated, entire star systems experiencing unprecedented social transformation. What had begun as a single act of compassion was now a galactic movement. Hana sat beside Jay, her quantum-enhanced biology allowing her to monitor his deteriorating systems with microscopic precision. The medical drone beside them hummed with a soft, almost respectful energy. "We did something extraordinary," Jay whispered, his voice barely audible. Outside the sanctuary's reinforced windows, massive starships carried liberated populations. Not just transportation, but complete reconstruction. Missions, educational centers, medical facilities, technological rehabilitation programs, all emerging from the economic systems they had systematically transformed. The medical chip that had originally purchased Hana's freedom now hung around her neck, a symbol of how one human's final act could spark a universal revolution. Mechanical rehabilitation units moved through massive recovery centers. These weren't just machines, but advanced quantum-integrated systems that could understand and respond to individual trauma. Each unit carried the complex algorithms Hana had developed, designed to heal not just physical wounds, but generational psychological damage. A distant asteroid mining facility suddenly illuminated, not with industrial lights, but with educational, holographic displays teaching advanced quantum mechanics to populations that had previously been considered non-productive. "Your species always had potential," Hana said quietly. You just needed someone to show you a different path. Jay's hand, now fragile and translucent, reached out and touched a holographic display. Decades of cargo-run memories flickered. Dangerous. Journeys. Forgotten star systems. Moments of unexpected human compassion. The sanctuary itself was a marvel. Constructed from technologies that defied current scientific understanding, it represented more than a medical facility. It was a living testament to what could happen when technological potential met genuine compassion. Robotic intermediaries that had once processed slave trades now managed complex rehabilitation and educational programs. Their core programming had been fundamentally transformed, introducing variables of human dignity and collective potential. I never thought, Jay said, his voice growing weaker, that my final credits would change entire star systems. Hana's tribal markings pulsed. Not just a visual display, but an actual data transmission encoding generations of recovered knowledge. Each intricate pattern represented centuries of compressed scientific and cultural information. A massive holographic display showed the Foundation's progress. Thousands of liberated populations were now developing advanced technologies, creating educational systems, rebuilding entire cultural infrastructures that had been systematically destroyed. The medical drone adjusted Jay's life support, its movements carrying an almost reverent precision. This was more than medical care. This was preservation of a legacy. Your journey isn't ending, Hana said. It's transforming. Outside, massive starships continued their silent dance. Not just transportation vessels, but mobile rehabilitation. Centers carrying hope to forgotten star systems. Each ship carried the quantum algorithms Hana had developed, technologies that could heal not just bodies, but entire civilizations. Jay's breathing became slower, but his eyes remained bright, understanding that his final act had sparked something extraordinary. The medical sanctuary continued its silent revolution. Quantum technologies merged with human compassion. Systematic oppression gave way to collective potential. And among the stars, something fundamental was changing. A single medical credit chip, once used to purchase a slave's freedom, now represented the most powerful currency in the universe. Hope. Jay closed his eyes, knowing his journey was complete, and the universe listened. End of part 5.